All right. Hi. Yeah, my name is Kamadan. I'm a snow spotty kitty or snow leopard, and I normally live in Auckland, New Zealand.
Okay, because currently we're in Berlin,
Yeah.
but we'll talk about that in a little bit. But is so, what's it like being a furry in New Zealand?
Um. Well, I guess. First off, there are furries pretty much anywhere in the world, so there is a active community back home. It's not as big or lively as, say, any other big cities around the world. San Francisco Bay Area, for example, Chicago. So it can get pretty lonely, I guess, at times, but not too bad. We have regular fur meets, and there is an annual gathering as well back home where we are. And of course, in the day and age of the internet, it's not really hard to join an online community, and people like me obviously travel overseas to other events as well.
Yeah, I was going to say that I understand that there are a lot of people who travel as part of the fur community. What sort of destinations have you travelled to as a fursuiter?
Personally, for me, I would say, um, winding back the clock a bit, the first Furry Club convention gathering I've been to would have been Anthrocon in Pittsburgh, the States, back in 2005, actually. Some of the various conventions that I've been to over the years include Further Confusion, that's held in San Jose, San Francisco Bay Area. I've been to Texas Furry Fiesta, which is in Dallas, Texas. I have been to Midwest Fur Fest, Chicago, Illinois, in the States again. I have been to Confuzzled, which is in the UK. Have been to Eurofurence as well, which, funnily enough, is actually held right here in Berlin, Germany. Have been to JMOF recently, which is Japan Meetings of Furries. That's in Japan, and I at Toyohashi. So, contrary to some popular beliefs, it's actually not in Tokyo. It's actually in a town about, I would say, in two and a half hours out of Tokyo. Also been to much closer, say in Australia. There have been Furdo in the Gold Coast, and also Midfur, or now they call it themselves Convergence in Melbourne.
So it's interesting. Like it's really an international phenomenon.
It really is. It's wherever there are furries and they feel the need to make a local gathering and to attract other furries from out of the area as well. Yeah, there will be a convention being organised if there's a demand for it.
But fur suiting is quite gear intensive, and it's not easily packed gear. How do you travel?
Again, it really depends on the type of fursuit you have, but essentially fursuits are fur and they actually do pack down pretty well. So they are more, I would say, volume-wise, they're more bulky than heavy, but you can compress them down to, say, a standard hard shell suitcase, for example, which is what I use for traveling. My fursuit heads are actually quite forgiving in terms of slightly collapsible as well, so they will fit easily inside the suitcases I travel with. Otherwise, another popular method of transporting them would be like a great big sports bag or hockey bag, and they just shove everything inside, and there you go.
Okay. Now, looking at New Zealand, um, as you are aware, that this channel is really a pup play channel.
Yep.
But I understand that there is quite a lot of crossover between the fur world and the pup world, and furs have brought in a lot of wonderful aspects to human pup play. How have you found the connection between fursuiting and human pup play?
For me, I would definitely say that I'm still kind of in the looking around, very, I would say, a newbie phase into the whole human pup play scene. I would say that in a way, it relates because on the one hand, you got your furry and your persona, and having your pretty much your character, which is an anthropomorphic animal, and in a way that kind of translates into being wanting to be a pet, like wanting attention and people caring for them. That at least that would be my point of view as to kind of a link between the two worlds. And also at the end of the day, a lot of fursuiters are also quite I would say kinky, and they have lots of other interests as well. For example, for myself, I actually is more into the pony play than pup play. Again, there are certain parallels, and I actually have a pony character persona as well, which then ties me into the pony play side of things. And similarly, for pup play, I guess I just like the attention being given when, say, for example, go do this, and then I get praised and rewarded, and just wanting someone's attention. I guess this is how I would see it, at least.
Okay. How would you tell us about your persona? What characterizes you?
So Kamadan is a snow leopard. I originally came to, I guess, visualize him in a way. It's looking back then. That was nearly about 8-9 years ago. In the fandom, there are a lot of more canine-based characters or personas, and I guess I wouldn't say there's a lack of feline ones, but certainly not ones which really stand out. And I just found that snow leopards are really pretty, and they're a bit elusive as well. And I just love their pattern on the fur. And so I kind of started about making a fursuit out of being a snow leopard. And obviously, what I'm wearing right now is a rubber or latex version of that character, because I have strong interest in rubber and latex, and that's kind of how I blend the two, as in having a fursuit partial or fursuit head or mask pairing with a latex body.
Okay. And that's a wonderful connection there. So why do you think fursuiters are kinky?
That's an interesting question. I obviously can't answer for everyone else, but for me at least, it's the big part of it would be the escapism, being not your human form, being something else. Obviously, role playing, and sometimes your desires or what you want to do may be not so much your own human form would be as willing to express them, but maybe through a different character or persona that might be able to show through. And so maybe people find that as in, it's not in the headspace, it's not themselves, it's somebody else, and that makes them maybe braver, makes them easier to want to do the things that they want to do.
Now, one theme that I've observed within the fur community, and it's certainly absolutely present in the pup community, is sexual versus non-sexual play. What's your perceptions of that?
So my perception, obviously, at the moment, there's kind of like a debate or divide between the whole, let's not sexualize this fandom, compared to the people that generally want to say that, hey, no, this is what we've been about from the start. If you look at any furry art or anything in particular, we sexualize things because it gets your attention, right? I guess there are those that sees their persona as purely a performance space, and they want to, say, for example, perform at charities, perform at functions, bring happiness and joy to children, obviously, and that may seem a little bit inappropriate, but obviously there are those in the fandom that don't see it that way, as in, well, it's completely grown up and adult indulgence, for example, and they should be able to do whatever they want to. For myself, I guess in a way, I mean, your obviously your mum and dad have cuddled and produced you, right? So in a way, I don't really distinctly separate the two. I just go do what I want to do and what I like doing. And I have performed. I have helped in charity events in my full-on fursuits, and nothing's inappropriate there. But similarly, I have done obviously after dark things, but at the same time, I won't go push it in people's faces saying that, hey, the fandom is all about this. There's always a time and place for everything, and you always got to respect people's boundaries. And at certain conventions, obviously, they have rules set as to what can and cannot be worn, and more power to them for wanting to. It's their event, it's a private event. At the end of the day, they can dictate what sort of dress code or what sort of behavior that you want, and as long as you adhere to them. Then I think everyone is happy and would have fun. Yeah.
Why do you think that there is a group of people within the, whether it be pup or fur, that are seeking so assertively for it to not be sexualized? Are they looking for legitimacy? What would you?
The way I see it is, as you said, I think at the end of the day, we just want a bit of attention and want to make this kind of, I wouldn't, kind of they want to normalize it, and for some they feel that, oh, it's a bit weird, like some people don't like wanting to tell their parents or friends that they have a fursuit, that they have a persona, because it may seem a bit weird. They want the furry fandom to be more, I guess, mainstream, perhaps, so they can be more at ease at just wearing a fursuit down the road and having fun and without having weird looks, and then having people talk about them on social media in a bad way. So there's that. I feel is what I'm observing. Of course, they on the one hand, then this is purely my own opinion. I feel that some in the fandom also wants to push this more. I hate to say it, but a bit more commercialized. Obviously, there are gangs, whatever that it may be. There are people that would want to make gain out of it, and by pushing it more mainstream and opening up to a larger audience, they feel that there are more opportunities to be made. And in order to do that, they have to really distinct themselves from what they perceive the public would accept and not accept. And the line apparently would be, if you sexualize it, then, oh no, people are going to be freaking out and thinking that is a bad thing. I think that mindset could be quite dangerous, because the general public might be more intelligent than you think, and they're not all, like I said, going back, obviously your parents have cuddled in order to have you. I don't see why that people would be shaming others, which may, enjoy the activities in their own private time, and yet people go out and about or make a big effort into trying to, distinguishes that.
Yeah. Now it's interesting because there are people across the world who are pushing the boundaries with the connection between kink and fur. So I was at Claw earlier this year, and there were people attending Claw in fursuits. So we met yesterday at a pup play event in Berlin. What has your reception been as a fursuiter at pup or kink events?
Another interesting question, I guess. It's good that you asked that, because before I decided to go out into the pup events yesterday as Kamadan, I actually did ask the same question to my other friends. It's like, hey, do you think that it's actually appropriate for me to go in fursuit, or at least as a cat at a pup event?
Yeah.
And they said that no, just do what you want to do what you enjoy, because at the end of the day, it's all about diversity, acceptance. That's what the LGBTQ or that's what the event is all about, right?
Yep.
But yes, I can't help to stop and think that it is appropriate or not. The reception I found is, I guess, because I'm quite different. and that's kind of my I guess the hallmark of like I do the fursuits and the rubber body. That people say, hey, it looks good and it's great, and get the conversation going. So for me, it's been generally positive. I have not heard anything about, hey, you're not a pup. What are you doing here? So it's pretty good for me, and I did enjoy myself at say a pub event here at Folsom Berlin. Similarly, I have been to other events as well, and no, the public has been pretty nice in terms of what they say. So yeah, hopefully that answers the question.
Cool. One moment, we're just going to have
I'm
John
just going to have a brief couple and walk behind you.
quickly crosses over the set, and we're back. What do you think pups could learn from the furry fandom?
I'm not sure. I haven't really been in that community for long enough to really say how things are done and whatnot. I mean, I hope that generally people are at least friendly, inviting, accepting. Don't really try not to judge a book by its covers, right? Get to know the person. I mean, any sort of kink, whether pup play, pony play, furry, whatever, it should be open to anyone. Anyone who takes an interest in it, they should be able to join in, right? They don't need to have all the gear, they don't have to have this or that. Let them explore and find themselves and see if they are going to stick around or see if they found themselves in this instance, the human pup community, which is most often, sometimes I found, the comment I've heard from others from some similar events I've been to is it's a bit intimidating, or people feel like if they don't at least have a pub code or adhere to like these sets of pub and master relations and whatnot, they feel that they don't belong there. I say, well, try harder, and yeah, make them feel more welcome, I guess.
Yeah. Now, Berlin is a dreadfully long way to travel for an event. What interested you to come to Berlin?
For this, I've been hearing and seeing things talked about Folsom Berlin for quite a while now, and again, I have quite a lot of other kink interests as well. Obviously, rubber, anything skin tight, maybe a bit of bondage, BDSM. So I just decided that I want to come here and experience it for myself and see for myself what it is like. I mean, you can only hear and read so much about an event, but you really have to be there to draw your own conclusions as to whether or not it lives up to the hype, or whether or not it is what you expected, or what it turns out to be.
And what were your expectations?
Surprisingly, I have tried to set myself with no expectations these days when I do travel to an event, just because I want to try to experience it from a blank piece of paper, a blank mind. That may not work because of all the things that you hear. Generally, it's been what it is. The street fair itself, it is quite eye-opening to see hundreds, if not thousands, of people on the street, just in full gear, be it leather, rubber, sportswear, spandex, all sorts, pup gear, etc., etc. Just hanging out, just as if it's like a normal thing, and they don't have any issues with the displays with obviously sex toys and whatnot. It's really diverse, and it's one thing that, and obviously it's only happens once a year, but during that period, it's really quite something which I have not experienced myself in other events before. So far it's been pretty good. I'm glad that I've had this experience now with coming here and seeing what it's like.
How did you like? Were you at the fair? I'm just thinking that as a pup, it's good to have a handler because to have somebody because it's difficult to manage. Like people say, I'm in headspace, I can't do anything. But from a purely practical level, it's very difficult to wear a hood and manage money and bits and pieces and stuff like that. And that's where having a handler or a master can be helpful. And they keep an eye. And I imagine in a fursuit, your vision is limited, and it's not like your suit has shitloads of pockets. So
No.
were you solo at the event yesterday, or did you have people?
I did come with a group of other friends, but they are all also in gear, so we're not it's kind of like the blind leading the blind in a way. I would say it really depends. Say, for example, at a furry convention, you would want to have a handler as well when you're in fursuit, obviously, as your eyes and ears, and try to make sure that you don't bump into things that you're not supposed to bump into, and handle, like you said, communications, money, etc., etc. Again, some personas strictly don't talk, so there's that as well, and obviously you need the handler to communicate with other people wanting photos and etc. For myself, I've been in the furry community for, I would say, a decade now, and I have learned to pretty much, in a way, handle myself in suit. You just learn and evolve. So you would have pockets. You will have ways to try to get things in and out and whatnot. So for myself, I don't find it difficult just because. Let's just say that this is not the first time at the circus for me.
Yeah.
So it's pretty good, and that the weather is actually quite cool, which helps as well when you're in gear. Contrary to popular beliefs, rubber actually does not contain heat at all. Once you stand around and cool down, you will be freezing to death.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's been okay so far, and I have no issues with just being in suits and going about my way. Obviously, other people's experiences might differ, and depending on how elaborate their costume or their suit is, some may not be as well adept and able to just go about independently as I do.
Say, for example, if you're at an event, right, and you want to eat or you want to drink, you're going to have to break character by taking your hood off.
Yeah.
Or how do you feel about that in a public space, breaking that sort of fourth wall of you are a snow leopard at one point and then you're a dude in part of an outfit. How do you manage that?
I guess for me again, this is kind of like an error condition in the community, but that's another story. For myself, I guess it just depends on the setting and environment. At the street fair, for example, everyone is just in gear and enjoying themselves and be themselves, and I have no issues with taking a break, taking my head off in, say, public, and getting a drink and whatnot. And obviously, I can also just drink out from my head, so at least I don't have to take my head off in order to do that. And as for food, it's just time management. I mean, if we want to have food, obviously go back to the room, get changed up, and then go get food. Similar at a furry convention, I guess some people would take their heads off in the middle of a convention in the hotel restaurant or whatever and have food. And of course, some people would say that, oh, you're not supposed to do that. There's this unwritten code about performance that you should keep it to the old-fashioned where you never break character. But at the end of the day, I mean, it is an event for you to feel safe, to enjoy, to be yourself. Just do what you feel that you're comfortable with would be my opinion and my advice. If you feel that you shouldn't break character, well, there are facilities and schedules that allow you to do that. And if you're comfortable with just hanging out, breaking character all the time, whatnot, more power to you.
Yep. Okay. So there was the street fair. Did you attend? What other perceptions and experiences have you had at Folsom?
So obviously, being Berlin and Germany, there are many fine events and clubs that litter around the city, and so I have the opportunity to visit some of them. For example, the pup event for one on the day that we met, and there are also some pretty good parties, theme parties that's being scheduled around. So one of them, like you mentioned, would be the rubber party over at a very famous club called Laboratory, or people call it the Lab, just outside. I don't even know where exactly it is in Germany. It is certainly an eye-opener. Hearing people say about what it is like and actually being there, it is quite something. It is quite an experience. The queue was quite long. We stood for an hour and a half just trying to get in. We arrived there about, let's see, 10:30, and we didn't even get in until nearly midnight. It is that ridiculous. And again, it is definitely an experience because nowhere else around the world that I've been. Obviously, I wouldn't even say back home, Auckland, New Zealand, I have not experienced any event like that. Australia, Melbourne, or Sydney, I haven't really been to events like these as well. Similarly in the States, but imagine like a really strict dress code that they will adhere to. There's a bouncer that makes sure that you have a certain percentage of rubber or latex gear in order for you to get through the door. And there are at least, I would say, last night over 1,000 people in the venue. For those of you who have seen the film The Matrix, one of the bar scenes where Neo and Cole walk in, it's kind of like that, but multiplied out with over 1,000 people there.
Yeah.
So, yep, pretty much what I've heard is all true. That happens in the club.
So, did you fursuit at the laboratory?
No, so the suit itself actually needed some repair, so I didn't wear that to the events. But I have another outfit that I wore, so I have pretty much a gas mask and motorcycle boots and gear, and I wore that to the event as well.
So, how did you find the laboratory?
And again, this is purely my own opinion. I kind of find it a bit, for myself, it isn't for me. I mean, sure, it's cool. The things that you hear about, like I mentioned, it's true. It's an eye-opener to see that happen. But after 20 minutes there, I felt like, right, I don't find intimacy there. The music is very loud. You can't really hang out and just talk. Like in that regard, it's no different to any other bar. And because there's so many people there, indoors it's getting a bit hot. It's getting a bit stuffy. Service is sometimes hard to get by when you have hundreds of people trying to get the 2 or 3 barmen attention to get something.
But I don't think people go to laboratory. Well, okay. If we were to go by the reputation of laboratory, they don't go there to drink.
No, they go there for the sexual activities.
Yeah.
By that, I just feel like it's, I don't know. I guess for me, again, because I wasn't there to just look for a random hookup or want to do anything that's maybe slightly dangerous that I shouldn't be doing, because you always practice, safe sex and safe everything. And they do promote that. Obviously, they provide all the protection that you can use. Whether or not the patrons, they're complete strangers, adhere to that, that's a different question, right? And I feel that with the amount of people there, it kind of became really overwhelming for me.
Yeah.
I would rather a more intimate club with smaller numbers and with more people that I know, rather than just go and have a bunch of random men groping you up and down or just soliciting you for sex is pretty much how I see it.
So Auckland doesn't have an equivalent to laboratory?
Oh no, hell no, not even close.
Okay.
Is it kosher to speak about some of the things that I might have saw there on this channel?
Yes. This is your experience.
Yep. So one of the things that I heard about at the lab is this thing called the Hungry Hippos. Now, for those of you who knew the board game, it's a bunch of hippopotamus trying to grab balls and trying to eat that. So now, what happens at the lab with that is it's about water sports. And I'm sure people who watch this channel would hopefully have an idea of what water sports is, and not Google it. So there it is. Apparently, what I've heard is pretty much two levels. You have a lower level where the people who are willing to accept would be down there, and on top of a grating, people just pee down the grating.
Yep.
And people talk about it, and some people thought that it's not true. No, it is definitely is very true, because you can smell it from a few from 10 feet away before you even approach the area. It is very filthy. I mean, yeah, sure, there's paper towels and whatnot everywhere, but I kid you not, there are literal shit on the floor as you walk around, because obviously people are cleaning out and they're doing other things. I mean,
you probably wouldn't wear your best Gucci shoes to the...
No, and that's the other thing. It's like, I'm kind of glad that I didn't wear this to the club, because I feel that I don't really... okay, let's preface this by, I don't pretend that this is squeaky clean. Obviously, I've done certain things with this outfit, but in a setting like that, kind of not very high in hygiene level, thousands of strangers, I don't feel comfortable wearing this there, just because it may get damaged. People just have no respect for your gear, etc., etc.
I was at the same event, and I must admit there was a large amount of people smoking, and I was worried about damage to latex from people smoking. But I was surprised that I didn't see anybody get cigarette burns or anything like that. But yeah, I can understand what you're there. But I think that there is part of the attraction to an event like Laboratory is that this is a place in the world where this level of bacchanal is happening.
Oh, definitely.
I can't think of many other places that could top that.
Yeah.
Really.
So that's why I said it certainly is an experience, and I am glad that I actually been there and see what it is like for myself.
Yeah.
But like I said, it's just that personally, I'm not a prude. I've been in orgies and I've been in room parties where many people are just going at it everywhere around you.
Yeah.
But in that setting, it's just something that I don't feel comfortable in nor at doing. Maybe because I don't know as much people as I would know in, say, a furry convention. Maybe that is the difference. Like if I go with a big group of people that I know and we go and have fun ourselves, then that might have helped. But because I only went with two other of my friends, and they went off to have fun, and I kind of felt a bit left out. Can't really make a connection to other people, and the language barrier, for example, like a lot of people might not speak English and might be a bit hard to hear you. And I feel that usually I dress like this and get attention, and that might be the icebreaker. But maybe because I didn't wear this, but maybe it wouldn't have mattered, because maybe that's not what the people there are looking for anyway. So
how do you feel going out to a club?
Yeah.
When you're in a fursuit versus when you're not in a fursuit?
I certainly get more attention in character and suit. I never. This is more a personal background. Like I never really did gay bars or clubs myself anyway. I guess my only the path to my fetish outlets and my world has been through the furry fandom to begin with. So I kind of associate myself with my character when I really want to do that, and it's only when I get to know someone more on a more intimate level then kind of breaks that barrier. So for me, I feel that if I go by myself, it's a bit hard for me to get into the headspace, and that goes back to the previous question where, as my persona, I might be able to channel more confidence through him than just myself.
Well, the pup community talks a lot about headspace. Is headspace a similar thing within the first?
Yes, I would say it is. I mean, for example, for me, it's I'm a cat, so a lot of the character traits I develop is more cat-like, and so you have to kind of maybe approach me with, pet me, rub me, stroke me, give me attention, but don't bark commands at me. I mean, for example, have you ever tried walking a cat? It doesn't exactly work, does it? And I have a similar personality trait. It's like when I want attention from you, I would definitely let you know that I do. At the same time, like they say, cats are assholes, and if I don't feel like it, I would make it clear that no, piss off, please. It's like I'm not interested, and you don't just, for me anyway, it doesn't work that hey, no, you have to obey my commands because of this. Doesn't really work. So yes, there's a headspace, and again, that's just speaking from my personal experience. Other furries, I know that they have their own headspace that they will get into as well, and not funnily enough. A lot of the canine fursuiters I would say, have the similar traits as to in the human pup play community as well, where they respond more to maybe commands, to train them, the whole alpha and pet relationship, for example. Yeah, so yeah, there is the parallels there between the two.
Yeah. So we've been chatting for a little while now, so we probably should wrap it up because
Sure.
things have got to move. Summing it all up, though, how would you wrap up your Berlin experience?
It's been great. Folsom, it is definitely a place where I can go out in gear, walk in full latex downtown around, nobody bats an eye, which is something that maybe because I know that this happens every year, but from what I'm told, the Germans here don't give a shit. So it's been great that I've been able to experience a lot of new things. I've seen a lot of things that I've heard about, and obviously making new friends and connecting with people that I've previously only talked online, and now I'm able to meet them in the flesh. So
that's fantastic. That's really good. Do you have any, like, if somebody wanted to contact you, get to know a fursuiter like yourself in New Zealand, or how would somebody contact you?
Sure. So online social media would be the best way. So my Twitter handle is @snowspottycats, one word with an S. I'm sure they'll put a link down here somewhere. So yep, that's the best way to contact me. Similarly on FetLife and on Telegram, same user handle.
Yep, that's fantastic.